I'm not quite sure how to describe it. And a lot of people I've shared this with, and other people I would sit in ceremony with, didn't have a similar experience.
I wonder have you ever heard, so you can find some YouTube sounds where they've slowed down crickets, and it literally sounds like an angelic choir.
Oh, interesting.
So
I've not seen this.
It's incredible. So I'm wondering if it's a similar experience to what you had, because when I've showed you
have showed me. Yeah.
It's
pretty interesting. Yeah.
It is. It literally sounds like angels singing in perfect harmonies, and they change keys and everything too. And it's just cricket chirps, and they just slow it down.
Beautiful.
And it almost brings tears to your eyes. It's remarkable. I'm
I'd
curious.
love to hear that.
Yeah.
And see if it's similar and compare it.
Totally. Yeah, that'll be a fun experiment after the podcast.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, sweet. And yeah, so I guess sometime after I started sitting in Aya ceremonies, I went to this sound healing, and I was living in Austin, Texas at the time, and it was a holographic sound healing session. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know what to expect, but I went, and it was maybe an hour and a half long session, and what I experienced in this session was so divine. Like I felt like I was in an ayahuasca journey.
Yeah.
Just in this sound healing session. And like I was getting visions, I was seeing things, I was feeling vibrations and frequencies move through my body. I was feeling certain chakras lit up, and afterwards I talked to the woman who's now a dear friend of mine, and I was like, what is this? Like, where did you train? How can I do this? I want to learn this. I was just immediately like attached to it and like, wow, I really need to do this. And then maybe about a year later, I found an ad in a spiritual magazine in Austin for my sound healing teacher. Paul Hubbard is his name, and I felt so called to it and just signed up immediately. Then I brought it to my friend, and she was like, oh yeah, that's my sound healing teacher. So I didn't even realize it was the same type of sound healing. And yeah, I was very, very called to it, and I went and studied
to it too.
Very aligned to it. Yeah.
So I've shared with people something that I've caught. I study esoteric records of all sorts and really look for the depths of the meaning, and the true meaning behind a lot of them, because even though some of them have been corrupted and altered and changed over the course of time, you can still find really fascinating codes, so to speak. And one thing that I point out, and one thing that I share with people, the very first line in Genesis, which is the first book of the Old Testament, it says, in the beginning, God said, let there be light. And the reason I bring that up is because a lot of people normally read that and think, oh, light is the first expression of source. But listen carefully.
Sound.
In the beginning, God said.
Oh, it's so good.
God said. Let there be light.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
the light actually comes from the frequency, from the sound.
Yeah.
So the sound was the first expression of source consciousness. So.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's just like I wear these earrings, the Sri Yantra, this sacred symbol. It's been in my life for many years, and only recently did I start diving more deeply into it to uncover. I mean, it's got so many meanings and parts to it, but it represents the geometrical configuration of the most sacred sounds in the universe.
Ooh, yeah, I can feel that. I can like hear it almost, like just like looking at it now, like I'm seeing your earrings and I can like hear them.
just like one of those sand plates when they turn them on, and it like starts to create that.
Totally.
Yes, those are
for
really
real.
cool.
Yeah, all of the different geometrical designs that you see on those plates, depending on the frequency that they use.
Totally. Another thing that, like, so you brought up that God said, right? Well, God, like, literally everything is sound.
Yes.
Everything.
I've even called human beings just frequencies.
Right. Exactly. Because it's all energy and it's all vibration, and that is sound.
And some
Sound
frequencies
is
harmonize and some
vibration.
don't, and that's when you get like people that just don't really
Right.
vibe. Right.
Yeah. It's like you put two notes together that you're playing the piano, and then like you put two funny notes together and it doesn't sound good. Like you don't want to play those together, right? They're not gonna go together.
Yeah.
But then there's other ones that you're like, whoa, this is perfect resonance. You're exactly in my scale, or like exactly in the key that I'm in too, right?
Yeah, that's an interesting point because with my sound healing, I do vocal toning alongside the bowls and the other instruments. And through that, I'm channeling beings called the Hathors. And sometimes the sounds and the tones that come out are very harmonious with the bowls and the instruments. And sometimes it's like disharmonious. And what I was taught was like, that's for a reason. So sometimes there are these disharmonious sounds that come through,
like the
but
shadow
it's meant
work.
to be, or maybe something just needs to be
They're
jostled
triggers,
inside
right?
of someone, like shaken up to be
aligned.
released.
It's just like those people who aren't in alignment. Like when you come across them and you have an interaction with them and you realize that they're not in alignment, they trigger things up for you, because because they're not in the same resonance, you know?
But you know what the key is, like you were saying, well, indirectly saying, triggers are good.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Like that's
They are-
how we find
extra snaps for that one. Hold
Extra
on.
snaps?
Extra,
can we
get some
celebrate
hearts?
the triggers? Let's celebrate the triggers.
So it's good to be triggered. It's
Right.
healthy to be triggered because that shows us where we're out of harmony.
Where we're out of tune.
Well, and these things that come from our triggers, like they need to be surfaced in order to be released. Like we have to feel it to heal it, and so that trigger allows us to see, and whatever is surfacing, whatever dense emotion or whatever it is, like it needs to be felt on its way out as it's leaving.
Right.
Totally.
Yeah. If you think about like a guitar when it's out of tune and you're tuning it, like you pluck it and it's not right yet, right? But you move it into it, right? You slowly move it into the tune, right? And that's like literally what all of us are doing in this life. It's like we're tuning to the vibrational alignment of like who we are at our core.
Right.
Yes. Our true authenticity.
Our true divine blueprint.
Yes. Yeah, like in human design.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, you also do.
I do intuitive human design readings.
Yes.
Yes.
Let's hear a little bit about that.
Oh, wow. Okay, so human design, it's something I've been studying deeply now since December, actually. I've been aware of it for years, but just recently started diving full force into it. And the more I learn, the more I understand myself, like at my core, and like my soul's energetic blueprint. And the more I get to see, like, we all know that we're all one underneath it all, right? However, we are here as our own unique expression of the divine, right? And so that's why we have this unique energetic blueprint, and it shows me so much about our differences, how we all function differently. And also when you speak of like the disharmony that maybe we feel with other people, we can put two charts on top of each other and see how the energies align, and we can see where that disharmony comes from. So it's not about like blaming someone or calling someone toxic, but just noticing there's not an alignment of frequencies between us. And then with other people, you see the way like we've got these two gates that connect to form a channel, and that's how we connect the two different centers. And let's say you had one gate defined and I have the other gate defined. So when our auras are together, we complete that channel. That flow of energy can flow. And so we get to see, like, I get to understand myself, I get to understand the way I relate and connect with other people so much more. And we get to see people who will flow well in friendships or romantic relationships or business relationships. It's incredible. It's such powerful, mind-blowing information to know.
It's so deep. Like I've always I gained a massive appreciation for astrology when I was about 15, and I'm in a bookstore, and I was always drawn to this stuff. It's from a very young age, and so I'm in like the psychic section, you know, or whatever. And I see this book, and it was pretty big and pretty thick, and it was called "The Only Book You'll Ever Need on Astrology."
That's a captivating title.
So I pick it up because at the time, like, all I knew was that I'm an Aries. And, you know, aspects of that resonated, others didn't. And so I just didn't really care. But when I looked at this and it taught me more depth of my astrological chart, I was like, holy shit, this is legit. This is real. And so I've understood on a very deep level. And I even have gotten into conversations with people where they've been like, oh, I just don't believe in that hogwash or whatever.
Sure.
It's like, okay, let me explain it to you in a way that you'll understand because it's real and I can prove it to you. And they'll be like, okay, shoot. And so I'm like, do you believe that the moon affects the tides? That's science, right? I mean, if you deny
Yes.
that, you're literally like a caveman. So like we know that that's a
Yeah.
fact, right? That
Sure.
it's got a magnetic pull on the waters of the planet.
Uh-huh.
So you can take a step out and see that all of the planets
Yeah.
also have a magnetic pull on each other and on our planet, and the sun affects as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
So you can see, you basically demystify astrology, because however the planets were aligned when you came into this realm
Right.
Yes.
are going to have a blueprint
Yeah.
Ah.
on your personality.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I spoke to one brother that a couple of years ago we had this conversation because he thought it was hogwash or airy fairy stuff.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
After I explained that to him, he was like, got him thinking. So, but the thing about human design is that it takes it like a step further. I
Yes.
call it like astrology on steroids.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it incorporates astrology.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Western
does.
astrology.
Yes.
And also the I Ching
Yeah.
and the Kabbalah tree of life
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
the Hindu energy centers of the
Yeah.
body.
I guess that would explain why it is astrology on steroids too.
Right.
'cause you're-
Exactly.
you're-
And
Yeah.
there's two parts of it. You've got your astrology and it shows your design,
Mhm.
which is our unconscious
Right.
blueprint, and then the personality side, which is the conscious
Yeah.
blueprint.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so complex, so complex. I hear people who get hung up on the types, right? There's
Mhm.
4/5 types, and those are just broad umbrellas, right? And then when you get down to the specifics, just like in astrology, it's so unique into our individual
Mhm.
blueprint and
Yeah.
selves, and you look at there's 64 gates that coordinate with the I Ching,
Mhm.
and then the 64 gene keys as well. And so it's so important to just continue diving deeper and
Yeah.
deeper into it. You're not just the main type. Like there's so many more nuances,
Right.
and so much
Yeah.
more to explain,
Yeah.
like how you function,
Right.
and it's so important to know like how we make decisions
Mhm.
in life.
Yeah.
For example, like I'm a manifesting generator, so as a generator type, I'm designed to respond. Like I'm not meant to go out and initiate things, but I set my intentions for what I want to call in, and I wait for my outer reality to like bring me things to respond to, which
Yeah.
is how I came to be in this seat right now.
Yeah, for
You
sure,
know,
right?
exactly. So something to respond to, and then we have our inner authority, which what that really teaches us is that our authority is within ourselves.
Mhm.
Like not to
Completely.
seek outside sources for
Right.
authority, right? Which society has conditioned us
Yeah.
and brainwashed us to do.
It's one of the biggest
But-
lessons of all time right here.
And it brings in
all.
our
Yeah.
yeah, it brings in our personal authority. So
Yeah.
like mine is in my emotional solar plexus.
Mhm.
So before I make decisions, I need to wait and ride out my emotional wave. I have a
Mhm.
natural wave of highs and lows.
Yeah.
I need to wait till I'm clear and centered and grounded in my emotions.
Mhm.
Wait for that emotional clarity. And that's how I know what's right or wrong for me. Because
Yeah.
just because something is presented to me doesn't mean it's right for me.
Right.
So I have to wait and listen to my inner authority.
Right.
And it's like taking our power back.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
so powerful.
And those things that are inauthentic are just an opportunity to be in your authenticity and say no. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Totally.
Yeah.
No, and owning your no is
Right.
so powerful.
So powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guess what? So 9 also means no in German.
Wow.
Interesting, huh?
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew that actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Which is
Huh.
really cool with the whole 369.
Yeah,
you know?
I'm learning a lot about the 369 with you.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I'm big into
Yeah.
the 3692,
Yeah.
the Tesla.
Yeah.
Yeah, powerful.
What are your numbers in human design? Do you mind sharing?
Oh, my profile.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a 6'2".
Cool.
So I'm the role model hermit.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
From what I know, I'm a 5'1", I think.
Oh, 5'1s keep coming into my life.
I'm
Yeah.
a 1-3.
Okay,
Yeah.
I have a lot of 1-3s. And then what are your types?
I can't remember off the top of my head.
Man-gen or
Yeah.
gener- Okay.
I'd have to check my phone because another beautiful
Okay.
human.
I think you're a
gave me-
manifesting
gave me all the
generator.
info. Yeah, good. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I remember.
Yeah, I think. I
You're
think,
a manifesting generator.
Yeah.
I'm a generator.
Yeah.
Your generator, okay. And then what's your authority?
Remind me what that means.
One of the centers houses your authority, and that's how you know what's
sacral.
right.
I think mine's
sacral.
sacral, too.
Okay,
Yes.
yours is also sacral.
I think so.
That means you're either a generator or a man gen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I remember you being a man generator.
Yeah. I'm
Manifesting
pretty sure I
generator.
remember that too. Yeah. I just, after that, I looked into Grayson's and Sophia's, and then I got them all mixed up.
So many numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I gotta go a little slower through the diving and that,
Yeah.
to really comprehend and integrate that,
And it's great to do it a little at a time,
Yeah.
little at a time,
Yeah.
right? We don't really need to understand all of it
Right.
in its entirety. And
Mhm.
even as I go along and I learn more, like I have a compilation of charts that I've looked up,
Right.
and I can go back to them and be like, oh wow, that's a new realization.
Mhm.
Like for the longest time, I felt like I really identified with projectors.
Mhm.
Like really being able to see into people and know things about them and being very sensitive.
Mhm.
And part of that is actually because my G center is completely open. Like I don't
Mhm.
have any defined gates in my G center.
Yeah.
And that's our center for identity
Mhm.
and love and direction. And so my entire life I have noticed, like when I was a kid, actually I thought something was wrong with me. I noticed like, oh wow, I feel like a different person when I'm with different people. And
Right.
like, who am I?
Right.
And so it's so easy when we're not aware of the open center conditioning.
Mhm.
Like when I'm with different people who have and I define G center, I take in aspects of their identity and amplify it.
Mirror.
Yes, but in an
Super
intense
mirror.
way, and it can be challenging to
Yeah.
know what's mine and not what's
Right.
what somebody
Mhm.
else
Yeah.
is.
Like super empathic.
Yep.
Not necessarily empathic, because that's in the emotional solar plexus.
Oh.
That's when you take in and amplify people's emotions,
Okay.
which I don't actually do. I thought I was
Taking
really
an amplified
empathic.
personality.
Identity. Parts of
Identity.
people's identity and their direction.
Interesting.
Like I could get
That's
lost
really
in
cool.
somebody else's direction.
Yeah.
Or even in my younger years, I was constantly seeking others to give me direction
Yeah.
in life.
What a great thing to be conscious of.
Exactly. When we're
Yeah.
conscious and aware of this, we can start
Yeah.
to really understand ourselves and
Right.
how we operate on like a base energetic level.
For sure.
Mhm.
And it's really good to have these maps,
Mhm.
but to not let them define.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And that's this whole process of
Right.
deconditioning
Exactly.
within human design. Like all my open centers are where like I'm susceptible to conditioning by my environment, by the people around me, by society. And once I'm aware of it, I can start that process of deconditioning and moving
Exactly.
beyond it.
Yeah.
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 That's
so
so
powerful.
powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
Totally.
empowering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. It's one of my favorite modalities of, what would you call it? Like the genre
Personal
of
research. Internal
Yeah.
research, maybe. Or-
Like
Yeah, like
if you put
the
like
Perspective
science of
research.
self, maybe.
Yeah.
yeah, maybe where we would include like human design, gene keys, astrology,
Numerology.
Vedic astrology, numerology.
Yeah.
What would you
Yeah.
call that genre?
I know human design is referred to as a science, but
Okay.
um,
Spiritual science. The spiritual sciences.
scientific exploration of
Yeah.
self.
Yeah, exploration of self is
Yeah.
probably the best.
Right.
Yeah.
Would you? So correct
Well,
me
that's
if
what
I'm
science
wrong.
is, right? The exploration of self.
I guess
pretty
so.
much,
Yeah, if you
right?
look at it from the right angle,
Right.
for sure.
Because everything is all.
Exactly,
Right?
yeah.
Mm.
Which so correct me if I'm wrong. But I believe Richard Rudd used human design to get the inspiration for.
For the gene keys,
Yeah.
yeah. So then you can take your human design charts and look at the 64 gates, which correlate to the 64 keys,
Mhm.
or the gene keys.
Mhm.
And you can dive even deeper, like looking at where you're defined. And we all actually have all of the energies. So if
Right.
you don't have a gate defined, it's still within you.
Yes.
It's just not as active
Prominent.
Right.
and prominent.
Yeah.
So then you can dive even deeper. And Gene Keys, like, I've had that book for a couple of years, and it's so complex.
I
Like
know.
I use mine like an oracle. Like, what do I need to see today? Flip it open to a
Who
page.
else does that? Was it Angela who does that same thing?
Maybe.
Maybe it's, or I can't remember. Maybe it was Michelle, who
Yeah.
another person that we interviewed on. But yeah, they just use it as like oracle
An
cards.
oracle, yeah, it's
Yeah.
so complex. And you've
Sure.
got the shadow, the gift, and the city, and like
Mm.
it dives so deeply.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's another powerful way to like use your human design and then correlate it to the gene keys and dive even deeper into
For
that.
sure.
Such cool
Yeah.
tools. Too.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like the gene keys just like
For
just
real.
expand my
Yeah.
consciousness so much
Well,
every time I read it.
And it's relatively new, right?
It is.
So
yeah. And
it's
so is
cool.
Human Design. Well, the downloading of it by Robert Hu happened in 1987.
Okay, yeah.
He didn't sleep for 8 days.
Yeah, I
and
heard
8
about
days and nights he was just downloading. He calls it a visitation by the voice. And he downloaded it. He calls himself the first student of Human Design. So that was the transmission, but they've traced it back, even further than that.
Wow.
And certain types, they say that the projector type wasn't around until, I believe it's 1781.
Okay.
So yeah, he still has all this history on it, but that's when the voice
That's
delivered
really
it and brought it to
interesting.
our awareness.
I think that's like
Yeah.
that's just an
That's-
proof, basically. How do I say it? Evidence of what is happening on a conscious level,
Right.
or you could say, as we've moved into the photon belt, to where people have just been having we've had these like mass awakenings,
Yeah.
or what's the other word?
The
that you-
evolution of consciousness, or the
We're on that like.
right
I don't look at conscious or evolution as a slow.
expansion, not
Ascension,
evolution.
expansion.
Yeah,
Expansion of
totally.
consciousness.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I feel like evolution is something that doesn't happen over millions
Right.
of years. It's something that happens over maybe a few thousand years, and then there's these massive, like we're moving into a new species right now.
Right. Well, I mean, we
Yeah.
each
Yeah.
evolve every single
There's-
day, in all sorts
Yes.
of different ways
Like,
too.
we're a new person every day.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like, and then we go through the whole first part of our lives, like collecting traumas and things like that, and just like, yeah.
Mm-hmm. But I want to hear what you're gonna say.
Yeah.
You lit up when I said
Yeah.
that. I want to hear you.
Yeah, so there's a bit in Human Design about 2027 and the rave children coming, and it's this mutation in our DNA, and it's going to be, I don't want to dive too deep into it, but there will be children born that are on a different level of consciousness, and they're
Right.
more like nonverbal, almost presenting as if they have autistic
Psychic.
qualities, and they connect in groups of 5s,
Wow.
and that's how they have these like pods of 5.
Five
but
is a cool
it's,
number.
It's
too.
the beginning
Yeah.
of this like shift and mutation. in
Right.
the DNA.
And it's so fitting that it's
Yeah.
5 too, because 5 is the number of change.
oh, fascinating.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
is fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like anytime you ever see a 555, that means big change.
Yes,
Okay.
that's
Big
true.
change, like
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
like metamorphosis.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
chrysalis.
Nice.
Yeah.
Breaking out of the
Yes.
chrysalis.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
And that's also like painful too,
Right.
I imagine
Yes.
when it's got to be a painful experience for a caterpillar to transform into a
Right.
butterfly.
Oh, the
Yeah.
darkness that happens inside, and what I've read is they actually eat themselves and digest themselves,
Wow.
and then there are certain parts of the caterpillar that they're born with that then make up the structure of the butterfly. So there are a
Mhm.
few key parts that
That's
don't
so cool.
digest, but the rest of them gets digested into this this muck, like this
Yeah.
goo, like.
Wow, yeah,
and
yeah,
it's,
yeah, yeah.
like, think about that in terms of like the intense breakdown of our being and like
Mhm.
the dark nights of the soul, and like
Right.
a lot of pain and suffering that we
Ooh.
go through. And then when we break out, it's also, one thing I really like about this is that it's important for the butterfly to do that on its own. Like if someone steps in to help it, if
Right.
it's struggling,
dies.
it dies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that
Yeah.
touches on like the sovereignty of each soul,
Right.
right? Like whatever I'm struggling with, if you try to take that away from me and save me from my pain,
Mm-hmm. And
like,
you're just taking karma on yourself.
yeah, and
like
it's gonna
fucking your own
impact my
self up.
ability to do
Yeah.
my work on
Yeah.
my own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that butterfly metaphor is like so cool because like if you think about it, like we each go through life as a caterpillar and we're collecting all these traumas and like getting bigger and bigger, like
Mhm.
until we get to a point where like we're ready to like metamorphosis and we like build a cocoon and we go in that hermit mode, that dark night of the soul and everything like that, where we start eating all of our traumas, like digesting them and
Yeah.
processing
Yeah.
them and integrating them and everything, and then we change and we turn into the butterfly and we're able to like break out of the cocoon and like start spreading our wings,
Mhm.
so cool.
And the immense
Have you-
beauty on the other
Yeah,
side of that.
yeah.
Have you guys listened to that transmission? You can listen to it on Spotify or YouTube, called Metamorphosis by Darpan.
I think
No.
you sent me that one.
It
Yeah.
is wow. It
Yeah.
is. It's a total like transmission. Like I already used that word. It's like a download.
Yeah.
And when you listen to it, it is. I'll send it to you.
Yeah, please
it's
do.
so powerful. Like,
Sweet.
and that's the analogy that he's using, explaining ascension that we're all experiencing right now, and you know, going into creating the chrysalis and going into, and then he's like talks about, you know, the butterfly when it comes out of the cocoon, it doesn't know how to fly,
Right.
but it takes the leap anyway, and then its whole world is completely transformed as it, you know, flies through.
So beautiful.
That trust and
Yeah.
surrender and
Mhm.
embracing the unknown and
Yeah.
taking those leaps of faith.
Yeah, it's incredible. So note that if you haven't listened to it.
Metamorphosis.
Metamorphosis by Darpan.
Darpan.
On Spotify, YouTube. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's absolutely just. Mwah.
There's. Yeah. So speaking of powerful sounds and things like that, why don't we get into some experience? You want to
Okay.
share like some cool?
Absolutely.
What do you have
Absolutely.
here? And what does
Um,
it do?
Sure. Okay, so these are a few of my like handheld devices. We'll get into the drum and the bowls later.
Yeah.
So we'll start with just the tuning forks, and these are by Jonathan Goldman. He's known as like the grandfather of sound healing, and he makes
Cool.
really high quality sound healing instruments, because there is a difference
Yeah.
when you're buying sound healing instruments
Mhm.
in the quality. And these specifically are called the Moses Code. They're two
Cool.
different frequencies, and what they do is they connect us with the divine source that's
Mm.
within.
Yeah.
So I can give each of you
Yeah.
an experience with these.
Yes.
Okay, I'll start with you.
Absolutely.
That sounds
Let's
wonderful.
see. This one is-
That's so cool.
Yeah, and so together they make like a binaural beats.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Really
Yeah, that was really
smooth.
cool when you cross sides. And it,
Mhm.
and I could hear them
Yeah.
like kind of like moving.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I'm
Yeah.
excited to hear
Yeah.
experience this.
And it did feel like it was going kind of straight through a little bit too.
Nice.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's cool.
Yeah.
You want to do it to the microphone?
Sure.
If it comes
so our
through.
listeners.
Yeah.
And I don't think that
Should we
it'll come through on the TikTok though, right?
So those of you on TikTok, after this podcast, we are going to be doing a little. She's gonna do some awesome lit sound healing. So
Yeah.
yeah, so we'll do that there if you guys don't hear any of this.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I hope that came through.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, yeah,
I
me
hope so.
too.
Because it was,
Yeah.
I can feel.
Yeah,
what's medicine.
right?
Yeah.
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 Yeah, some people experience like a color, like a burst of color. I hear red a lot from people. Yeah, it's different for
Yeah,
everyone, but
yeah.
it is one that just kind of snaps you right in. Like,
Right.
and these are such powerful tools that really anyone can use. Like, granted, by doing sound healing, which I'm sure you do this in your sound healing too, is like we channel energy through this, right?
Yes.
Like being trained as a Reiki
Right.
master and in channel light healing, like I'm constantly channeling healing energy through the instruments I'm working
Right.
with. However, even if you're not trained or attuned to these frequencies, you can get your own tuning forks, and I do highly recommend Jonathan Goldman tuning forks. His
Yeah.
they're very powerful, and you know, you can use these on yourself. It's very
Mhm.
powerful when we're in these times of like doing shadow work
Right.
or feeling these dense lower frequencies, really difficult emotions, and there's a lot of that on the planet
Mhm.
right now. Even had a call today with someone who was experiencing really intense like suicidal ideation and stuff, and this is very common, and especially amongst starseeds, like you kind of feel like I just want to go back home.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
this earth is so dense, it's so dense and difficult here,
Yeah.
you know. I just want to be back with like my soul family, my star family, you know. But we came here for a reason to like do work, you know, to do really important work, and so having tools like this at your disposal where you can use on yourself when you're in those times of like darkness and density, and when it's like a struggle, it's like these are really powerful to use sound to help move you through that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
One of the things I noticed about these is like it's almost like a knife of like frequency, you know, like, and it just comes in and like cuts off the shit that you don't need.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Interesting.
Yeah, I like that visual.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Wow,
like that.
that's really interesting.
Yeah.
Because it's very different than my crystal trishula.
Right.
huh?
Yeah. Your crystal trishula is so much different.
Yeah.
Yeah. Powerful, but both very different.
Very. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they're
Yeah.
different tools. It's like
Exactly.
I hate this comparison, but I'm going to use it anyway. But it would be like a battle axe and a broadsword.
Yeah, right. You can kill someone with both of them. Yeah.
Pause for the ASMR snaps.
Yeah. This is part of the sound healing session.
That's
Part
right.
of it,
Here we go,
yeah,
guys.
Snaps are very effective in shaking off negative energy.
I mean, anything physical
Right,
too.
yeah,
Tapping,
for real,
you
yeah.
know, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, this right here on your thymus is massively powerful.
Yeah.
So if you can get your thymus, because what happens when you're born, your thymus is like, it's almost the size of a tennis ball.
Yeah.
But by the time you're like a young adult, I can't remember the age, it's literally the size of a pea. And it's a very important gland for your spiritual.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
You
this
know, we
helps
can-
reactivate your thymus.
So we can even like bang on it
Yeah.
like this in the
Yeah.
face, and that actually can give us energy.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like that's why like gorillas would bang on their chest.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Or Tarzan, right?
Or Tarzan.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do feel more energized now. So.
Awesome.
It's
Yes.
perfect works. Right?
Maybe that's the resolution for my caffeine dependency.
Yeah.
Yes,
There you go.
yeah.
This is the new caffeine. Hey guys, you need to
Yeah.
switch for coffee. Yeah, for real.
Cut out the coffee.
Yeah, cut it out.
Cut it out.
Bang on your chest.
And then the breath, there's also a coffee breath.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
In breath work, I don't
I thought the
facilitate
coffee breath was
work,
just
but-
like the kind of stinky after
Yeah, there's a breath work.
Yeah, tell us about
similar
that.
to
That
like,
sounds cool.
I guess it would also be kind of similar to like breath of fire.
Yeah, okay.
Like
Yeah,
the fast-paced
yeah,
breath,
yeah,
and that's
yeah.
very stimulating
Yeah.
and energizing.
Yeah, for sure.
Not one you want to do right before bed.
Totally right. Yeah. Breath of before. That's a bad idea before bed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then you can start going. All right. I guess it's shadow work time, huh?
Yeah,
Think about
right.
now.
Oh, there goes my sleep.
Right. I'm gonna have to do coffee breath again in the morning.
Oh my gosh, it's hilarious.
Yeah. So speaking of, coffee has nuts, right? It has the beans, right? So why don't we go into the nuts now?
You're gonna do the
right?
magical nuts.
Yeah.
Okay, beautiful.
Slide right in.
Yeah, nice.
Hey, I'm good with nuts, okay?
So these are my magical nuts, and this is a term that
Magical.
I have coined. I was
love
telling
it.
someone.
Magical nuts.
So I did a sound healing here 2 days ago at the Kava Bar in
Yeah.
Sedona for
Yeah.
the Lionsgate.
Yeah.
And first of like weekly sound healings I'm doing at the Kava Bar, and someone really fell in love with my magical nuts, and she was
Love it.
asking me, she was like, where can I get some magical nuts?
Yeah.
And I was like,
Such a funny conversation to have about it. Yeah,
And I was
especially when you're
like-
like in your spiritual headspace,
Right,
right?
it's great, and that's the thing, like line it up,
Right.
bring some fun to
Yeah,
it,
exactly.
line it up.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's another side note. The Hathors that I work with in Channel, that's part of, they're masters of sound,
Yeah.
which is why they
Yeah.
flow through the vocal toning. But
Mhm.
they're here to help us on our ascension process, and they're here to they come and lighten us up, like they'll poke us
Right.
and
Yeah.
remind us not to be so
Yeah.
serious
Yeah.
anymore.
Right.
Like sometimes in
Yeah.
my sessions, people will burst out into spontaneous laughter,
Yeah.
and it's like that Hathor energy that's very playful and childlike.
Yeah, that happened to me in an experience too. With I was doing sound healing, and totally he went through everything though. This person just had a massively potent experience, and there was a point where he was like in fetal position, bawling, but then where he, I mean, almost seconds later, was like laughing from the gut laughter. You know, like that guttural laugh. It was.
So healing too.
Because I think that what's happening, because we're channeling basically source consciousness, and like you said, people sometimes get way too serious about spirituality. It's got to be fun too. It's got to be enjoyable because hopefully I don't offend anybody here, but like a lot of Christian people look at Yeshua as like this. What do you call it? Staunch, like stout, like no emotionless person just walking around. But I know him, and he's super fun. He's hilarious. Like almost every time he comes up to me, he's laughing and shaking his head. And I think he's doing that because with my Mormon/Christian upbringing, that's how I viewed him. And I think that's why, especially when he first started coming to me and like the smiling ear to ear and going like this. Yeah. It's just like, Adonai, come on, man.
Well, he's the one who said, let the little children come to me, right? Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, why? So that they can play, right?
That's what we're here to do, right? We're all in this big sandbox playing.
So
we just have to remind ourselves. And there's the time and the place, to like our temple ceremony that we did on Sunday with Lara and stuff. That's obviously set apart as a sacred container where we want silence, where we want that experience to really tap in.
There's a time for each, the play and the series.
Absolutely.
There is a season. What is a verse in the I think is it the Old Testament or New? It's like there is a time and a season for all things.
Right.
It's a time to.
Yeah, I can't remember where that is, but I remember.
A time for joy, a time to cry, like a time. Yeah, it's basically just everything is cyclical, right? Everything is seasonal. So, but it's
But
it's so true.
Yeah, so true. It's so powerful.
Make it fun.
And something to remember also when we are in those like times of shadow work, like this is cyclical. This isn't going to be forever. This will go through.
That's important too, because when you are down in it, it doesn't feel that way.
Exactly.
And so just to maintain that perspective, that this too shall pass. I love that saying so much.
I know, me too. So much.
Yeah. Same.
So let's go back into this nut story.
The magic
nuts. Bit of a tangent. Let's bring it back to the nuts, okay? Back to the magic nuts.
You always got to return back to the nuts.
Like, always, right?
Because that's where
it comes from. Oh my God. The play is great today.
So this woman who was in my session, she's also a sound healer, and she was like, where can I get some magical nuts?
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, first let me give you the actual name. So this is a term that I have coined. Because I do this a lot at festivals. I like to give sound experiences to people there. And it's magic. And so I've coined them the magical nuts.
Yeah.
And these are actually called Kenari nuts.
Cool.
With a K, Kenari. And these were made in Bali. My first set I had were made in Mexico. So I am also, there are knockoffs on Amazon, so be careful.
Of the magical nuts.
Yeah, that are
careful of fake nuts, guys.
Made in China. Not sure what type of energy is behind them.
Oh yeah.
So important to like be aware of where your things are coming from and what type of quality you're using with these instruments.
Source your nuts from a good source.
Yes, yeah, definitely. Okay, well, shall we move on to an experience?
Yes, absolutely.
Would you like to go first?
Yeah,
have you just face me and close your eyes?
That sounds so cool.
Wow. I'm gonna wait to share my experience with you until
Yeah.
you go,
Okay.
because
Okay.
I want to
Smart.
compare.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
You ready?
Yeah, let's do
Yeah,
that.
she'll face me if you can.
Okay.
Close your eyes.
Wow. Magic nuts. Yeah.
So for me,
Yeah.
I felt, you know how just from being out, and it happens to everybody, this is why
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people sage and whatnot, you just kind of these parasitic entities kind of attach small little, if you see, I see them visually sometimes, and so
Uh-huh.
it's like they kind of attach to your auric field. They're just little parasites. It happens no matter how spiritual you are, it just
Sure.
happens.
Mhm.
I could feel as you were doing that it was like pulling all of that off. It was like cleansing my auric field.
Wow. Wow, that's powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you for offering. It was so amazing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh,
Pleasure.
it's so beautiful.
I see that for sure. What I've been hearing like the whole time, because I kind of closed my eyes when you were doing it too. It's almost like a stream of like water, but of sound, and like, I don't know. It's like I was trying to find words to like explain this, but like what you're saying with you felt all that falling off. I feel like what I kind of envisioned after you said that is like, oh, okay, so like it's like this river that's like flowing over you and like washing all that stuff off, you know?
Totally. Like
Yeah.
for me, it was like rain.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
rain.
I kept seeing like a brook or something like that, like, you know, like the little rocks and like hearing the stream and
Wow,
all
yeah,
that, you
yeah,
know, like,
Mm.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a very common one that a lot
Yeah.
of people like feel water with it, or
Yeah,
hear
totally.
and feel water
Right.
with it. For some people, it's like a waterfall. Some
The-
people a stream.
The first thing that popped in my head was a rain stick, because
Uh-huh.
because I was in percussion for a long time, and we, you know,
Yes.
rain sticks all for
Mhm.
days. Yeah.
Yeah, people say that too. And
Yeah.
so I had someone recently described it as leaves
Oh,
rustling.
that's cool.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's a
and
pretty
that
one,
was really
too.
cool.
Yeah.
And what's so fascinating is it's such an organic sound. Like,
Yeah.
I like to also like flow and dance with these, like at
Mm.
festivals too. And I've had times where I'm right by like a deep bass speaker,
Mhm.
and this sound will cut straight through that music.
Wow.
Kind of like, you know, the
'Cause
sounds I heard in ceremony.
That's another thing I was going to share too, and that's why, like, right in alignment with what you're saying, because it's very multidimensional.
Yes.
Mhm.
It's
Yes.
so multidimensional.
I think
experience.
that's one of the reasons I was having trouble finding words for it.
Yeah.
You know?
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Because words are so
definitely.
linear, and this
Yeah.
experience
So
is.
This was like-
Yeah.
Like
Totally.
all over though.
Yeah.
You know? Like, yeah.
And it
Completely.
goes on
Yeah.
more, like the longer these
Mhm.
go on, the sound starts to morph and shift
Yeah.
and
For
change.
sure.
Like
Cool.
I was outside with a couple friends in Austin once, and I was doing it for 3 people,
Mhm.
just the magical nuts, for
Mhm.
maybe about 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And at the end, one of my friends just burst into tears.
Mhm.
And she realized, like, when it stopped, like, how attached she had become to the sound,
Oh wow.
and that she just didn't want it to stop.
Yeah.
And I think for her, it was like just reflecting attachment in her life
Right.
as well.
That's so cool.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it continues the sound the longer I go with it. Like, I'm really into creating all kinds of different types of sound experiences.
Yeah.
And just using the magical nuts, it's like the longer it goes, it just morphs and shifts and
Yeah.
changes so
Wow.
much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably, if you do it long enough, it probably becomes a damn near psychedelic experience. I
Yeah.
can imagine.
Yes, sound
Yeah.
will do that.
Oh yes.
For sure.
Yep.
And transport us
Yeah.
into like other
Yeah.
dimensions.
I'll always explain to groups that I do sessions for that what we're doing with this is putting them in, because we're just demystifying this.
Mhm.
So they've actually created, as you know, different levels of consciousness.
Mhm.
So what we're doing in sound medicine, at least me personally, is trying to get them, because if they go delta, they've usually gone too deep when they start snoring away. You want them in a theta state, because that is where the healing takes place and where the connection to higher consciousness takes place, to where they can remember it and the messages come through clearly.
Right.
Because they'll still get it in the delta, but it can be
Yeah.
forgotten. The magic and the medicine still occurs, but it's not as readily available.
I
as
think
if
it
they make
occurs-
if they stay in that theta state.
Yeah, it occurs more consciously through the theta.
Yes.
And
Yes.
then more subconsciously through the delta.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, because I have also had people fall asleep during
Yeah.
sessions. Like, it's quite common.
Yes.
And I've had someone who, in an online session, fell asleep during it, in an online group session. And then the next day sent me, I literally opened this up when I do online sessions to any just heart-based donation, whatever you feel called to donate. And the next day, she sent me a long message saying, like, she woke up basically feeling like a new person. Like,
Wow.
anxiety, depression gone, certain pains in her body gone. And she sent me $222 on
Nice.
Venmo and was like,
222.
222. And like, this is a reflection of like
Yeah.
the impact that this down healing has.
Yes.
You know? But yeah, there's something really magical and special about the theta state.
Yes.
Like getting people in that state.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
you know, it's where our subconscious was formed in the first 7 years of our life.
Exactly.
You know?
Yep. And it's really incredible to me watching the whole experience of the evolution of consciousness, where we're moving out away from this nonsense medicine, right? The
Right.
drugs,
Yeah.
the pharmaceutical
Drugs.
nonsense,
Yeah.
into the true medicines of
Right.
sound, of plant medicines, of herbal medicines, of
Mhm.
alchemical medicines. We're
and energy
Yeah.
medicine.
Well, it's all
right?
energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, but I mean like from our own person.
for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right? You know,
The
yeah.
ancient medicine.
The ancient
Yes.
medicines.
That were
correct.
around so much longer than science has been around.
Exactly. And where do you think we were taught them?
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's pretty powerful. But I love observing that, because that again is something that we're able to like witness the evolution happening, the ascension happening.
The
'Cause more-
expansion.
the expansion. More and more people moving
Yeah.
into these types of medicines in a way
Right.
from, they're even just changing their diets,
Mhm.
Yeah,
and,
food is medicine.
right,
Yeah.
Yeah, powerful
exactly.
medicine.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm.
So cool.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shall we try the chimes?
Yeah.
Okay,
Let's do that.
amazing. We could do both of y'all together.
Okay,
with the
cool.
chimes.
Yeah,
yeah.
Perfect.
Sounds good.
was awesome.
It was.
Yeah.
This one feels very different, and to me, it feels more like emotional cleansing.
Beautiful.
For what I got was that it created like a container for like my physical self to let go.
Yeah. I was feeling that too,
Yeah.
like a let go.
Yeah.
Like a breakthrough into letting go of emotion, certain emotions that are just not serving
Or a
anymore,
relaxing of the grasp, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so like relaxing and releasing.
Very much so.
I had an experience recently, just maybe a week and a half ago, with a couple friends, and we were just sitting in a dark room, and it was just the three of us, and I was playing the chimes between the three of us for about at least 20 minutes. And in my experience, it was like I sank down into the core of vibration. Like I became vibration. I felt all of us as vibration, and it was so multi-dimensional and really like blasted me to another dimension and level and layer. And there, like you're saying, there really are no words to describe it. It's very challenging. Our words are so limited, but it was just a really beautiful, phenomenal experience.
Yeah. It's so good.
Totally.
Yeah, and so these are the Koshi chimes.
Yeah.
I do recommend people getting Koshi. There are other ones that are great. There's some knockoffs that are really not great. And with the Koshi chimes, they come in 4 based on the elements, and this one is water.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting because
Brings us back
emotion.
to the water, emotion. Yeah,
That's cool.
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And a powerful tool as well. You know, we have tomorrow this full moon coming up that is actually bringing a lot of density for us. And so having something like the water, right, with the moon being connected to the tides and the water within us as well.
Yeah.
And having an instrument like this to work with, to like really move through those densities and those energies.
To let go.
Yeah.
Yeah, and not to cling to the density as it moves through, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so powerful.
So powerful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Echo, this has been so phenomenal.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful that we've had you
So
on here.
amazing.
Like
For real.
the conversation has
So
flowed
great.
so organically and just beautifully,
Yeah.
and just literally just like water.
Yeah.
It's been so
Just like
beautiful.
water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, very powerful.
So honored that you were able to join us, and especially last minute.
Right?
So
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Yeah.
inviting me. Yeah, absolutely beautiful.
Where can people find you?
Yeah, so through Instagram, my Instagram is echoforest_, and that is forest with 1 R. And then as well on TikTok, echoforest_. On Facebook, it's just Echo Forest. And very soon I will have a website up and running that we can link to the bottom of these podcasts.
And I think we should probably have you back, and then
I would love
and
to
then we'll
be
just
back.
promote that then.
And you
For
know, we
sure.
could even do
Yeah.
some work together and ceremony together. I think that it would really
Definitely.
flow beautifully.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah, so beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
What a beautiful alignment.
For sure.
Yeah.
And thank you, brother,
Yeah.
because my guest kind of wasn't really fully aware of timing and everything, so it just didn't work. And so I asked Lucius. I said, "Hey, do you have anybody in mind that we could bring on?" And you were the first person that popped into his mind like that. So he's like, "Oh, I met this amazing being last night." And I was like,
Literally last night.
I'm like, "Do you have her number?"
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm
Just
so
being in
grateful.
the flow and being in the alignment, right?
Exactly.
Following what's true and what's
That's right.
aligned. Yeah.
That's right. So we are so grateful, so honored, so appreciative, and I'm sure that our guests are as well, and they're grateful for the conversation that we've been able to have and the wonderful, hopefully, downloads and revelations that they've received as well. So we love them very much as well, very grateful for them and for the whole family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm Cosmic Mystic.
Lucius